Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today's video is going to be my bad experience working at Kohl's. And if you're wondering why I'm looking over to my right, it's because I jotted down a little bit of my notes. I like to write stuff down before I make my video. Okay, so let's get started. So before we do get started, I just want to let you guys know that I apologize for not being able to upload any videos for at least 3 weeks to like a month. Things have been pretty hectic. I lost my one job and just started another job. And aside from that, I came down with a cold. One of my daughters got sick, and so I think she had given me her cold, which is fine. You know, I'm just now getting over my cold, so I apologize if my voice may sound a little bit different or a little scratchy. I'm just now getting over it. But before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that this is simply not me complaining. This is basically just me telling my story and my personal experience, and what I had to deal with the short amount of time that I had worked there. You don't have to agree with anything I say. These are all just my personal opinions. So at the end of this video, I will be giving you guys some pros and cons about working there, so you know what to expect. Alright, let's just get started. Okay, so I have absolutely nothing but horrible things to say about this company as a whole. I started working there. I got hired the end of July of this year, and I worked up until the end of this month. So almost 3 months I was there. Or almost the end, or wait. No, I worked there. I started in July of this year and I worked up until the end of September. My apologies. So almost 3 months. I quit just a few days ago, or now it would be like a week or two ago I quit. As you can see, I didn't stay with the company for very long, for obvious reasons, because of everything that was happening. They started hiring new employees for the holiday season, I think from the middle to end of August, and at the start of me working there, orientation seemed to go smoothly. She gave me my training schedule and badge and everything, and then I started training the following week. First of all, they only gave me 2 days of training to go over everything on the POS because I was a cashier. 2 days! The person that I was training with was completely and entirely rude. She would go through everything super fast, and she would ignore me when I had a question, and when I would go to talk to her, she would interrupt me on multiple occasions. She put off bad vibes, let's just say that. And then after my training, I finally got my actual schedule after like 2 weeks, and I would go to work when I was scheduled, and I got like 3 people to sign up for these Kohl's charge cards, because they're really big on their employees getting these credits, because then it has them get sales and stuff, and we had to always try and reach our sales goals, which is pretty normal or typical for any retail store that you work in. So I was doing pretty good, really good for my first time I was there, and I got them to sign up for the Kohl's charge cards on one of the first days I was scheduled. Life was great. I was always on time, and my attendance was really good, like really good. The employees seemed to be really nice, and I got along with just about everyone. And then after working there for a bit and getting into my groove of things, I started to feel very uncomfortable. I was always hoping that I would be working the POS on the Mrs. side instead of the men's side, especially on the weekends and if I was closing. The reason being is because customer service is on the men's side. And there would always be this really mean lady, we will call her Cindy. If I didn't do something right, Cindy would always attack me and get mad at me. If Cindy walked by and saw me just standing there, Cindy would tell me what to do like she was a manager. I worked on the men's side one night and accidentally forgot to take off a customer's security tags, because I'm human too. We all make mistakes. It happens, especially at work. And especially if you're new and just starting out at a job. And she would get mad at me and nobody else. So that place was a little unfair, if you ask me. Another thing is they are huge with the Kohl's credit cards, like I just mentioned. They tried to get me to get one because they are desperate. Luckily, I didn't get one. You are honestly better off without one because I've had a lot of customer complaints with their account locking up on them if they go to pay their bill online. And also, if you don't use it within a year, your account automatically closes on you, and then you have to reapply for a Kohl's credit card. You also only get a 15% off employee discount with no incentives, and there's 100% poor management. So with that being said, I've worked at retail places that give their employees like at least a 20 to 25% off discount. I worked in the restaurant business and they've given me a 50% off employee discount. So to me, 15% off is really not fair, if you ask me, especially working in a big retail store as Kohl's. And honestly, that place is just so unfair. I would not suggest working there at all. As far as the poor management goes, I mean, I will get to that in a minute, but let me just move on. So every time I have gone back there, all the managers do is sit around and eat and do nothing. They're also very rude, and they go around and bribe all of their employees with candy to get customers to open a Kohl's charge. The managers also never help out, and when they do, they only do it when it's convenient for them. Also, when I worked there, I felt pressured into getting credits, and I felt forced because if they see you're not making an effort, they will drop your hours. Another thing is we would have NFL days every Sunday, in which employees were allowed to wear jeans as long as we wore our football stuff. So I went ahead and showed up to work in my football hoodie. Mind you, we're only allowed to wear t-shirts, but I didn't know that. So I walk in and the manager goes, "You weren't supposed to wear your hoodie, just t-shirts." So I'm like, WTF, right? Oh yeah, and they would ignore me on the radio on purpose. The managers would just stand in a huddle and talk. One day I was working, I would call for assistance many countless times, and nobody would come. This one girl, we will call her Allie, had an attitude. I had hangers stacked up to my waist. To my waist. There's only one box, mind you, for these hangers, and they fill up pretty quickly, especially on busier days. And when I have hangers stacked up to my waist and nobody comes to help me out or bring me any empty boxes, because I'm a cashier and I have to stay up at the register. So I cannot leave my register. I'm glued. I am absolutely, entirely, 100% glued to my register in case there's customers, So this girl was a B and didn't want to help. So I asked her nicely if she could kindly bring up the empty boxes. And she tells me, "No, I have a lot to do already. Try asking one of the managers, blah, blah, blah." So I radio someone about 10 times and still no answer from anybody. I couldn't go to a different register, mind you, because my password that day, it was already past the time to where I needed to update my password. So I had to wait all the way till my lunch, half of my shift, to get a manager to help me to update my password so I could get into the register. So if I would have signed out or signed off of that one register, I wouldn't have been able to sign back on to a different register. So I was basically glued to that one and only register. I couldn't leave that register. But yet that register had hangers stacked up to my waist. So, I couldn't go to a different register because my password would lock up on me, so I just left the hangers how they were. It was also really weird to me because one of the motion sensors would go off all randomly by itself, and nobody would be around for it to go off. So that freaked me out a little bit, making me think like, oh, well, this retail store must be haunted or something because these motion sensors keep going off by themselves and nobody is around, and there's nothing else around for them to go off. So that was a little freaky. Also, this past Sunday and Monday when I worked, I had some conflicting issues with the store manager. We will call her April. I handed her a customer's item because it had no price tag on it. So she goes to look for it and comes back with an attitude and tells me, I tried to tell you on the radio, but there was no answer. So she goes away, and this other employee behind me, we will call her Haley, came over to where I was at to collect all the security tags. And she asks me, have you been keeping them together? And I say, I don't know, I just got here. Long story short, the manager wanted to talk with me in her office on Sunday, so we go back there, and right away I grab my things and leave. I go in on Monday expecting everything to be okay. I get through about 5 or 6 customers, and the store manager wants to talk to me again. So I walk back there, and she starts in saying that I had made some little remark on Saturday, and making false accusations. So that's when I quit. One more thing I wanted to mention was that every time I would get a credit, I didn't feel acknowledged for it, which seemed a little unfair to me, considering every other employee got acknowledged, and I didn't. So I felt like it wasn't good enough for them. I felt like they weren't happy for me. Every time someone got one, I would hear them saying over the radio, "Good job," or "Who was that?" or "Keep up the good work." And yet, nothing to me. But never to me, so they do pick favorites, no joke. So, in conclusion to this long rant, I just want to give some good advice to you all and say, do not apply for a job at Kohl's. It's not me trying to tell you all what to do. I mean, do what you want. It's just me trying to be there for you all. I know that every Kohl's retail store is different. It's just that the Kohl's retail store that I worked at here, all the managers seemed a little snooty and had bad attitudes. And I don't know what is wrong or what their problem was, honestly. But that was about the 3rd time I got talked to in the manager's office for no good reason in the 3 months of short amount of time that I was there. So what does that tell you? And nobody else would ever get in as much trouble because I felt like they were picking favorites and they wanted all their other employees to do good, but yet they would always just pick on me and hate on me, so whatever. They're all just haters. But do what you feel is best and follow your heart, and if you're really in need of a job, then go for it. But I am telling you that this job was a big waste of my time. Now, let's just get into the pros and cons of working at Kohl's. So, some of the pros that I wrote down here, I wrote, there's nice people. All the people were nice, besides the managers, some of the managers, and some of the employees, I mean, I got along with basically every employee there and all the customers. It was just the management. There's poor management, and I can see why. There is poor management because they have a bad attitude, and they were never happy, I felt like. So, it's a friendly work environment. It's fun to work at Kohl's. I love the work. It's just you've got to get along with the people, I guess. And then there's an employee discount, flexible hours, and they do give you free food. So they do all these like events and special occasions where they provide like cupcakes or cookies or little snack stuff in the break room, which is pretty cool. And then, so basically that's all the pros. And then we'll get into the cons, the negatives, if you will. So there's too many hours and different shifts every week. There's no overtime, occasional late nights. So there's nights where if, for example, they close at 11 and you're supposed to get off at 11:30, that doesn't always happen because the managers take their sweet little ass time writing emails or counting drawers or doing whatever. So sometimes you're lucky if you get out of there at 11:30. I've gotten out of there. There was one night where I didn't get out of there till midnight, maybe 12:30, and I didn't get home till about 1 because I live 30 minutes away from that Kohl's. So, yeah, that really sucked, and I hated that. I'm just glad I don't work there anymore. And then their healthcare sucks. You get short breaks. Sometimes they won't allow you to take your full break, which, in my opinion, is illegal. I mean, you're supposed to take a full break and a full lunch. They have very poor management, which I explained that multiple times. They have expectations of you, work and life balance, and absolute lack of concern for the welfare and safety of their employees, which I 100% agree upon. It's just a stressful environment, a lot to do at once, and their pay sucks. So, another thing I wanted to mention real quick for part of the negatives is the management constantly asks for tasks to be done, but the amount of staff available is problematic. Very unorganized, and a lot of people call out. One of my worst jobs I've ever worked at, honestly, like 100%. So, like I said, I mean, there's nothing really more to say than that. That's my rant for you all. I don't suggest working there at all. But if you're really desperate, not desperate, I don't like to use that word. If you're just really in need of a job, give it a shot. You know, if you've never worked there before, I would suggest trying it out, seeing if you like it. Every Kohl's retail store, I'm sure, is different. There's a select few, because we have 3 Kohl's in my city altogether. Just the one that I worked at, I would not suggest working at, but the other 2 are pretty cool. I mean, I love the one over by close to where I live. The people all seem very nice and stuff, and respectable people. It's just that one in particular, people were they're just so demanding, and they expect you to do everything, and they never acknowledge you for the good stuff. They only notice the bad stuff in you. So, I mean, that's my rant for the day. If you're new to my channel, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and become a part of the YouTube family. I love doing these videos for you guys. If you have any questions about working at Kohl's or just anything, feel free to leave a comment in the description box down below. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I will see you in my next one. Bye, y'all.